You guys asked for it, they deliver. We found out the episode titles and descriptions for the first 3 episodes, so let's do a breakdown. And there's a new round of that HBO Now giveaway. I'll explain that at the end of the video. But episode 1 is titled Dragonstone. It says, Jon organizes the defense of the North, Cersei tries to even the odds, and Daenerys comes home. So we've seen a lot of footage in the trailers that looks like it's from the first couple of episodes. Jon talking to the lords in the Great Hall of Winterfell. We need to band together, trying to explain to them the threat of the White Walkers. The only ones who would immediately take Jon at his word are the wildlings who literally experienced Hardhome and everything that's happened since then. In Game of Thrones, it's largely you don't believe something till you see it. Like you have Tyrion's character, you have Ser Jorah that didn't believe in magic until they met Daenerys and met her dragons. So you see it in the first couple of seasons with Jorah, then finally as they're traveling together, he gives the speech to Tyrion just like he experienced it. Then during season 5, Tyrion finally meets the dragons and it blows his mind. So that just needs to happen for some of these Lords of the North. Jon sounds like he's going to have some problems. It's not going to be a really easy slam dunk. And I just did that video about how Sophie Turner and Aidan Gillen talked about how Sansa and Littlefinger don't want to have anything to do with Jon ruling in the North. So however that manifests, whatever pushback they give him, they'll be fighting each other. So it's not like Jon is going to roll up in episode 1, everyone's going to believe everything he says, take him at face value, and then they'll all be totally cool with forming an alliance with Cersei and the new Daenerys who's landed at Dragonstone. So we'll see if a Raven makes it to Winterfell as Daenerys makes it to Dragonstone. It just depends on how fast they disseminate information. Because as of right now, nobody in the North has referenced anything that's going on with Daenerys' storyline. They've mostly been focused on the Boltons in the last season. The only time you really hear Daenerys referenced in the Seven Kingdoms is obviously the South and Dorne, as well as King's Landing going back to Robert in Season 1. The people in the North don't seem to be very concerned with the Targaryen restoration. But when they say Cersei tries to even the odds, that's probably Highgarden, because in the trailer, we see Jaime walking past what looks like a Tyrell soldier on battlements, so it looks like that's one of the big victories that they have. So obviously, Daenerys' forces are charging into Casterly Rock. They get their asses handed to them, but I think they want to show that the Lannisters do have really badass forces, and Jaime isn't completely incompetent, so he will have some major victories during these battles. And it could be through Samwell's father. They could offer them Highgarden in exchange for their help, because Randall Tarley is one of the best battle commanders in the Seven Kingdoms. So if you wanted to take Highgarden, you would just get somebody who is a real badass who is right next door to help you out. As for that last little bit about Daenerys coming home, that's self-explanatory. That's just all these scenes of her landing on Dragonstone, touching the sand on the beach, walking into her throne room for the first time. Like, you can see this brazier that's been knocked over. You can tell that it's been left in a mess. People left and haven't been back since. So a lot of the fun of these moments will just be seeing her reacquaint herself with her family's history, because she hasn't been back here since she was born. And she was born during a great storm while they were fleeing Dragonstone. Which is kind of funny because episode 2 is literally called Stormborn. Daenerys receives an unexpected visitor, Jon faces a revolt, and Tyrion plans the conquest of Westeros. So some of this footage has actually shown up in the trailers. The last little bit about Tyrion planning the conquest of Westeros, you see his hand knocking over the lion on the great map table. The unexpected visitor that Daenerys receives might be Melisandre, because I don't think that Jon Snow shows up yet, because it says that he faces a revolt, so it sounds like he's still dealing with stuff at Winterfell with Sansa and Littlefinger's plot. It's just that when you hear Littlefinger and Sansa talk about how they're going to be fighting Jon for control of the North, and then they mention revolt in the description of an episode, it sounds like they have something to do with that. And then episode 3 is called The Queen's Justice. Daenerys holds court, Cersei returns a gift, and Jaime learns from his mistakes. So the first big thing, Daenerys holding court. This sounds like it might be the episode where Jon Snow and Davos show up on the beach at Dragonstone. You can see the rocks behind them here. So that could be episode 3. It could be episode 4 later in the season. But there are only 7 episodes, so it sounds like they're not going to put that off for too long. And the idea of her holding court is just her being queen in Dragonstone, sitting on the throne. So you get a lot of those really big badass moments with Daenerys on Dragonback, but she's there to become the queen. So there really only been a couple times in the past couple seasons where she's actually held court and listened to other people the way a traditional king or queen would. You actually have to sit there and listen to people petitioning you for help. We even saw Bran doing it back when he was still Lord of Winterfell for that brief period before he took off. So I should actually mention that too. People have been talking about this, and we'll see how big of a deal it becomes, but technically Bran has the greatest claim to Winterfell, so when he returns, if he wanted to, he could take Winterfell from Jon and Sansa, because he's the oldest living legitimate male heir of Ned Stark, of pure blood, and everybody knows that Jon Snow's a bastard, so as much as they love him, his claim isn't quite as strong as Bran's, and because Sansa's female, her claim also isn't as strong as Bran's. But when it says that Cersei returns a gift, that could have something to do with the Sand Snakes, some of the big battles they're having with the Targaryen restoration. It sounds like most of her fight in the early episodes is going to be with the Queen of Thorns and the other people in the south, although there are big battle scenes that we see in the trailer with Daenerys' forces and the Unsullied, with the dragon scorching the earth. But when you talk about returning gifts, who would be giving her gifts other than Euron Greyjoy? There was an event during Aegon's conquest where he sent an envoy to treat with Harren Hor. They chopped the envoy's hands off and sent the hands back to Aegon. That was when he made the decision to conquer the Seven Kingdoms. So he's like, okay, that's it, ultimatum. You either bend the knee or I will raze you to the ground. I think of Cersei as being more like Maegor the Cruel, but they could just have her returning gifts in a sinister way, or it could just be a legitimate gift, like an actual gift that Euron gave her. But when it says that Jaime learns from his mistakes, that could be battle mistakes, but it also could be social, political mistakes that he's making with Cersei. So like they're slowly driving a wedge between those characters that might take the entire season to actually bear fruit. But typically when they tease big character arcs, they're metaphors for everything that's going on, like for the big war stuff that's happening and for the more personal character relationships that are happening. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about these episode titles? There's 7 total, so they'll probably wait a little while to reveal the rest of the 4. They typically roll out episode titles in waves, so we're not going to find out the title of the finale till like right before the finale. But we can all guess when we get a little bit closer. But like they did with season 6, the last episode was called Winds of Winter. Expect very big book references with the final couple of episodes. So there will be more new Game of Thrones this weekend. I wasn't expecting this information this quickly, which is great. But leave all your video requests for topics in the comments below. Congratulations to Sergeant Sue, you're the latest giveaway winner. Please private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. You can click here to learn more about what Sansa and Littlefinger are going to be doing during the season. And you can click here to learn about Game of Thrones at Comic-Con this year. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.